So, Adrian, do you remember how well it went when we did that episode about one of the Kardashians?
I'm not sure I remember what episode you're referring to. I have no recollection of this.
Because I just felt like it went so well, so uncontroversial
Oh my God.
that we should try it again.
I'm sorry, about who?
What could go wrong? Hello and welcome to Two Queens, Two Crowns. I'm your host, KJ Miller, founder, lecturer, and content creator.
And I'm Adrienne Rose White, actor, writer, teacher of how to actually sell a TV show organically, and actress in the upcoming movie Night Bitch.
Heyo, and tonight, number one, we're together.
Hey! Hi, bestie!
Nice. It's so nice.
I know, this is special.
We've never done this before.
No!
So that's big news. We are in Adrian's lovely Beverly Hills home. So be jealous. But two, we're talking about the Kardashians.
Okay.
Like all of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the whole clan, the whole Kardashian clan, because I don't know if you've seen that Kylie Jenner has kind of been in the news recently because a clip from their show has been going viral wherein she's crying about like how people have been talking about her looks. Have you seen this clip?
No.
Okay. All right. So this clip has been making the rounds, and it really, for whatever reason, really struck a chord with me because kind of the universal reaction, or at the very least, the universal reaction that's being shown to me is essentially people saying, this is what she gets. She deserves this. Like, she and her family created an unrealistic beauty standard, and now they can't live up to it. And she's crying these crocodile tears, but no one feels sorry for her because, like, you made your bed and now you have to lie in it, basically. Like, you have created this unrealistic beauty standard that you now can't live up to. So you sitting here and crying about it isn't going to elicit any sympathy from any of us. That has essentially been the narrative I've seen. And I just felt like, yeah, I want to talk about that.
Okay, yeah, I want to see this. I feel like I need way more context. I'm a little, I need a story told to me. I don't know what's happening.
Yes, and a story will be told. What I thought we could do, because by the way, this is a bonus episode.
Oh, fun! Okay.
Yes, fun. And what I thought we could do is kind of explore two questions, right? Because two sort of things came to mind for me as I was watching all these people with this viewpoint of like, Kylie deserves this. The first one was, are the Kardashians responsible for this unrealistic beauty standard, right? Which seems to be the thesis underlying everyone's take on not feeling sorry for Kylie, is that like, we're not going to feel sorry for you because like, you did this. So question one for me is, okay, did they do this, right? Like, can we draw a direct line from the Kardashians to our unrealistic beauty standards?
I'm curious what it is to do with the current unrealistic standards, but I feel like beauty standards for women have been unrealistic for like centuries.
Yes.
Is my first instinct.
Yes, 100%.
This is not like the advent of
absolutely
unrealistic beauty standards.
Absolutely. So I would caveat and say the unrealistic beauty standards and norms and trends of today.
Okay.
Can we tie a direct line back to the Kardashians?
Okay.
Right? That's question one for me. Question two is, sort of regardless of the answer to number one, whether it's yes, whether it's no, can we or should we feel any empathy or sympathy for the Kardashians in this moment, particularly this idea that they have been, to use Kendall Jenner's words, dehumanized, and people don't even think of them as human anymore, so they feel fine saying any and everything about them and about their looks. And should we feel sorry for them? You know, like what what can our emotions be? What should they be? I'm just sort of curious because I felt like the reaction was so universal. I was getting served exactly one take. And whenever I'm served exactly one take,
You're like, wait.
yeah, well, I just sort of want to dig a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Like it might be that I might walk away with the exact same take as that one take because I will tell you, I was inclined to agree. Like I was watching these videos and like, yeah, I'm inclined to agree, but I kind of want to just peel it back a little.
Let's peel, baby.
Let's peel.
Let's see what's under there.
Let's just see. Who knows what we're going to find?
I'm very curious.
Okay, so the Kardashians have been in the public eye since 2007. That's when their show first aired. I'm curious, I think I recall you saying in a prior episode you didn't really watch the first iteration of their show, but I'm curious, like, if you think back to that time, 2007, the 2010s, what was your relationship to the Kardashians? What do you remember of them? What did you feel about them?
I personally mostly felt indifference. I remember this was around the time the Jersey Shore was a thing too.
Yeah.
Like I think there was just a lot of like, look, people being messy on TV, which I mean, there's still that, but it feels like there was a specific moment of that. And here's the big thing I remember. I remember I went to the Atlantic Theater Company for acting school, and we had this exercise that was about, it's called an as if, where you act as if something's happening to like tap into that It's not about the emotion, but to tap into that action.
Yeah.
And whatever emotions came up when you do that action. So you like make up these imagined situations. And I remember the teacher specifically mentioned the Kardashians as an example of like your as if has to be believable and it has to be something that actually gets you riled up or whatever. So she was like, so for example, you might be like, oh, I hate the Kardashians. But are you imagining actually, do you believe you would actually be in a conversation with the Kardashians and be like, I hate you wearing lipstick on TV. You know what I mean? And so she gave an example of like, an example of a thing that many people, like an entity that people might be annoyed by, but like, it's not that serious, so like shut the fuck up about it.
Interesting. And you would say that resonates with you, like?
Yeah. I mean, I again, that's like the only reference point I had at that time because I wasn't watching it, so I was like, oh, people don't like it. That's interesting, but I hadn't watched it, so I just didn't have an opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's funny because I certainly never watched it religiously, but I did watch it. I definitely did watch it, and I feel like there were some seasons I caught a good amount of it. And, you know, in the beginning, like towards the end of the show, it sort of felt like, what's the point? Because everything is kind of playing out on social media / in the news. But in the beginning, I remember like it really felt like you were learning things about them and digging into their lives. And I do remember being a part of that. And I do remember enjoying it and being entertained by it. I thought Chloe was really funny. I thought Scott Disick was really funny. I actually liked Kim more than I thought I would. You know, I feel like I sort of went into it. There was all the scandal around her sex tape. And so I was prepared to just like deeply dislike Kim. And I remember thinking like, oh, actually, I kind of don't hate her. You know, she feels a little bit ridiculous. Yes, they all seem a little bit ridiculous, but not wholly unlikable. And I remember kind of being surprised by that, and just generally feeling like, yeah, this is an entertaining family.
And you know what? That's what I'll say. I didn't ever watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but I did watch Kourtney and Kim Take New York by accident. Like I was sick some weekend and it was on, and I just binged the whole thing. And I was entertained, and everything that happened, again, it's their show, but I kind of was like on their side with most of the stuff. Like this was right after Kim had married that basketball player,
and
Chris
it was Humphries.
Yeah, and it wasn't going super well. But I mean, and again, it's her show, so they're on her side. But I was like, oh, it feels like all the ways in which this isn't working out are very understandable. You know?
Yeah. So that's kind of how I remember thinking about the Kardashians early on, like entertaining. Yes, a bit ridiculous. but entertaining. I will say, in researching this episode, the question I really had in the research was like, okay, did they create an unrealistic beauty standard, right? Like, and what's the evidence? So a few things kind of came up for me, and a few different publications have argued this, that essentially from the very beginning, the show placed a lot of focus on their bodies and their beauty. So literally in episode one, the one of the focal points is Kim's ass. Her mom, Kris Jenner, mentions like, "Oh, you've got junk in the trunk," and it's like a focal point of the episode, how big her ass is and how, that's her favorite asset, right? And so that's episode one, and then we sort of see through the years, not just Kim being spoken about in her body, but really it kind of like translating to the other sisters as well. For instance, Kylie, she goes on a journey of, it's several seasons in where she admits, like, we've all watched her lips get bigger. And at first she was trying to tell us it was because she was overlining her lips. But then eventually she admits, actually, I got lip filler. And she admits that on the show. And what's interesting is the American Society for Plastic Surgeons said that they saw a sharp increase in lip procedures in 2016 after Kylie said that, right? So they feel like you actually can kind of tie a pretty direct line to Kylie saying in 2016 she got the lip filler, and then that procedure increasing really sharply. Similarly, they say we also saw a 256% increase between 2000 and 2018 in the Brazilian butt lift procedure, which is when you take fat typically from like your abdomen and then inject it essentially into your butt in order to give you a bigger butt and a smaller waist at the same time. And while they didn't say, and we tie it back to Kim Kardashian, the article in Time Magazine, which is where I was reading about this, pretty much is trying to make that connection. Like, we've been talking about this since 2007. We've been seeing their assets featured on this show. It's been one of the top reality shows for all these years, and we've seen an increase in these procedures over those years as well. So that's one way in which people, at least publications, have sort of tried to tie that line. I'm curious, what do you think about that?
I mean, I always have the question of correlation versus causation.
Right.
Like, did they one? They're not the first people to ever get a Brazilian butt lift. Is it possible? Maybe it's some of both. Like, they jumped onto a trend as it was happening, and because they did it, and they have this, and they have this platform that amplified it. I think it's probably that. I think some of that stuff was already because going back to the early 2000s, the early aughts. That's when being skinny was really a thing. Do you remember that? Where like everyone, it was all about like how small you could be. And I kind of remember them as one of the people in the culture pushing for curves again at the time when like skinny was considered the like top, like physical aesthetic. The top physical, or like that was the physical aesthetic that was being pushed a lot in the media as like, this is what's attractive.
Yeah. Well, I agree, but then I think that points a little bit more to the causation angle, right? Because I think they had this platform, they had curvier bodies, and it feels like they were enhancing those curvier bodies. And enhancing their features. So I can understand why people sort of look at the Kardashians and then the increase in these cosmetic procedures and say, yeah, I mean, at the very least see a correlation, and maybe could also spot some causation. It's funny because another article, Vogue, says that Kim Kardashian's silhouette was cited as an end goal for 30% of women who visited a specific plastic surgeon office in Beverly Hills. here where we are in your home, in this city. One of the plastic surgeons they spoke to said literally 30% of the women that we've had come in here in the last like 5 years cite Kim Kardashian. They use her as a reference. So that feels like, I mean, pretty direct.
Even that makes me say, like, I'm sure at some point, I'm giving an example here off the top of my head, but like, anytime someone's body is like revered publicly, people show up in places. I remember when I went to work out, this actually is revealing about me. When I was in high school, for one birthday, I asked for like training sessions. Like I wanted to work out more and get more fit. And so, and when the trainer asked like how I wanted to look, I showed her a picture of Halle Berry. Now I get that that's different than plastic surgery, but I'm saying like, even that, I'm like, it's not unusual for people to choose stars and then point to them and be like, I want to look like that. That's very standard.
Yeah.
So I don't.
And Kim Kardashian's a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
You know,
so
and
I don't. I'm not saying it couldn't be. I'm saying to me the facts don't. It doesn't seem enough to conclude. It's a worthwhile theory, but to me it doesn't conclusively prove that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm inclined to agree with you. I think one, if it were just that Kim Kardashian is a beautiful woman who is on a TV show, who then other women said, I want to look like this when they went to their plastic surgeon. Mm-hmm. If it were just that, then I don't think you could call that setting an unrealistic beauty standard, because for all we know, Kim's just living her life. Mm-hmm. And people like the way she looks, and you're right. So mm-hmm. even if you might be contributing to the beauty standard, I don't know that in and of itself could be called setting an unrealistic beauty standard. If you're just living your life, okay? But now let me hit you with another argument that people make, okay? So there's argument one is we've seen the cosmetic procedures go up, and we've seen people reference the Kardashians explicitly to say, like, I want that. Give me those lips, give me that ass, give me those hips, give me those boobs. Okay, but then we have to take into consideration that they've been peddling products, beauty products, for years and years. So we've seen Kim and Khloe, for instance, push on their Instagram waist trainers, flat tummy teas, diet pills, lip kits. Like, so it's not just that they're existing and people are saying, let me go to the surgeon to go look like them. They're existing and they're pushing
and
these
they're
products.
Saying you can look like this too.
Right.
Okay.
So now that I've said that, what are your thoughts?
I don't know. I get why. I get why am I so reticent to say that? Let me think.
Yeah,
about this.
I very potentially have not presented enough evidence. I'm just curious, like, with this new perspective, where are you now? You know.
I guess my feeling is that there is a lot more complicity in the audience, and that to just put it on the Kardashians feels like a lack of ownership when it's like an ecosystem that the audience is participating in. I think that's why I really pause with it, because if people weren't into it, then they wouldn't do it. Like, it's a feedback loop.
Yeah.
So this thing where it's like, oh, you got, so it feels a little bit, again, I have not seen these seasons of TV. I have not seen the videos of people upset with them. I am doing this purely based on like, from what I'm hearing right now. Mm-hmm. But to me, it sounds just a bit like, an ecosystem was interested in what they're doing, and so then they kept doing it, more of it, and then so people kept being interested in it. And then this idea that like the audience affirmed the beauty standard and participated in it. That's the only way. It was not forced upon them. So I think that's why I think that's why the whole argument kind of doesn't resonate with me as much, because it feels like a lack of ownership on the part of the audience. Now,
Yeah.
no, because
Well,
I'm sure a lot of these people who are especially upset would say, we are not the audience. We don't watch the Kardashians. We're not the audience, and yet this beauty standard is like imposed on us too. I'm guessing, if I had to guess.
yeah.
Um, and to that, I'm just gonna have a fake argument with myself for all that.
Okay, go for it.
And to that, I would say that's very fair, that they're not participate, that this thing is affecting them, even though they're not participating or feeding it. And that's what would bring me back to, like, there have always been unrealistic beauty standards. So I'm sort of curious. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just always lean to the empathy side. I don't know. I can see why a lot of people are frustrated and feel like it doesn't have the impact that they wanted to, that they feel like the Kardashians impact isn't the impact that they want to see or have on the culture. But I think the way people get so upset at them is generally somewhat disproportionate to what's actually happening. And that's my feeling.
Yeah. I hear you on all of that, and I do agree. I think the response to the Kardashians and the extent to which blame is put on them feels overblown to me, because at the end of the day, like you said, it's an ecosystem. It's a two-way street. Like, they cannot force the audience to watch. They can't force people to engage with the products that they are selling or promoting. There's willingness on the other side, right? So I tend to agree with that. Where I think I start to feel like I can draw this line is when I really think about the idea of unrealistic beauty standards, right? Because to me, maybe I would say a realistic, quote unquote, beauty standard could be, I might think a realistic beauty standard is throwing on some lip gloss and some blush before you go out the door, right? Because not only is makeup readily available, but it's available in every price point. I mean, you can buy a $50 blush, you can go to Dollar General and get a $2 blush. Like, nothing, there aren't very many barriers to that standard of beauty. If we're calling that a standard of beauty, throwing on a gloss and some blush, there aren't very many barriers to that standard of beauty. So I might posit that is, if I do that every day on my platform, if every day I hop on TikTok or YouTube or whatever and do that, I'm not setting a quote unquote unrealistic beauty standard, because anyone interested in meeting that standard, more or less anyone interested in meeting that standard could, right? But if I think about the Kardashians, and this sort of gets me into point 3 of how we might tie this line, a lot of the things that they do, most people can't do or afford or have access to, and they talk about it as if it is accessible and attainable, and they lie about the things that they do. And that to me starts to feel like unrealistic. So let me give you some let me cite my sources here.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so for one thing, I think if you get plastic surgery, I love that for you. And I don't necessarily think like anyone owes it to anyone else to disclose the plastic surgery that they've had, but it does feel like a little bit of a slap in the face or a little bit disingenuous to completely change whole aspects of yourself and then say, oh, but I haven't had anything done, which is effectively what these women have told us. I mean, Kylie Jenner, after lying about getting lip filler, eventually told the truth and said, okay, actually, yes, I did get filler, but that was only after telling everyone for well over a year, oh no, I'm just overlining my lips. Khloe Kardashian came forward and said eventually, like, yes, I did get a nose job, but that was only after like tons of speculation and all of the sisters saying for years, like, no, we haven't gotten any plastic surgery. Like, all we get is Botox. To this day, Kim claims she's never had any work done, not one speck of work, not even a filler in her face. And I got to tell you, I'm not a doctor. That feels very, very, very hard for me to believe because I have watched this woman on TV for 20 years. Like, I've seen the evolution of her face. So to say I've never done anything, it feels hard to believe. And it also feels like the reason you're telling us you're not getting any plastic surgery. Kylie Jenner still says, I've never had any surgery done on my face. And again, looking at her face, I mean, I have eyes. I'm not a doctor, but I'm also not blind. That feels hard to believe. It feels like the reason you're saying this is because you want us to believe that everything you've got, all of this beauty, is natural. And that feels like an unrealistic beauty standard because what you're telling me is my face can undergo the transformation your face has undergone with what, creams, lotions, and potions? That's what we're saying?
I will say, the season that I've watched season 1 of the Kardashians. I think I watched a couple episodes of season 2, but like season 1 of the Kardashians is the one that I like watched, and I was like, oh, they seem really nice. I'm confused why everyone's upset. Anyone who's mad that I say that, go watch the first. I'm sure the other seasons and stuff, everyone's mean and whatever, but that one season, everyone's really nice to each other. I was very confused. But what was I gonna say about? Oh yeah, Chris, that's the mom, right? Mm-hmm. Kris Jenner in it. She's like, oh yeah, I think like people should get plastic surgery when da da da. Like she said it very casually and mentioned people in the family having plastic surgery, and everyone there was like, yeah. So that was another one where I was like, wait, I've heard all these times that like people like they're denying it and all that, and but at least from the season I watched of the show, everyone involved seemed to be like, yeah, I had plastic surgery, and like owned it. So I was surprised that the narrative was about them not doing that.
Yeah, that's interesting because I have still, like, literally only the things that I've said that they've said are the things that they've said. Like, Khloe has admitted having her nose done. Kylie has admitted having her boobs done. Kim has said, I haven't had anything done except Botox. This is what we've heard from this family, despite looking at them.
Yeah, no, well, Kris at least has said she's gotten plastic surgery.
Yeah, and Kris she's a different story. But it just feels dishonest. And honestly, it's not even just the surgeries. It's also like what they are willing to present to the world from like even a social media photography perspective. Like, I don't know if you recall back in 2021, Khloe, like an unfiltered, unedited, kind of unposed photo of her ended up on Instagram. She was in a bikini and she looked perfectly fine, but it wasn't edited. There was no filter. She looked very normal. And and then it spread like wildfire because she's a Kardashian and we never see photos of them unedited or unfiltered. So of course, then it was posted on a million different sites and she literally like threatened legal action to get it taken down off of every single website. And it's actually fairly hard to find now. Like, one Google search is not going to get you there. You got to go down a couple rabbit holes because she cleansed the earth of this photo of her just looking like a normal person, not looking bad, just not looking airbrushed and perfect. And then she caught flack for that. And she posted to IG saying, the photo that was posted this week is beautiful, but as someone who has struggled with body image her whole life, when someone takes a photo of you that isn't flattering and bad lighting or doesn't capture your body the way it is after working so hard to get it to this point and then shares it to the world, you should have every right to ask for it not to be shared, regardless of who you are. Which, yes, and I agree with, like, I don't love unflattering photos of me to be popping up online. At the same time, all we see of you is perfection, and we get one photo that isn't perfect, and it's like scorch the earth, legal action. I will kill you if this.
Okay, she didn't. Nah, what? The earth was not scorched.
It felt
She
a
did
little.
not threaten. I am assuming did not threaten
She
murder.
did not threaten murder, but she did threaten legal action, and
Well,
she did wipe the internet clean of this photo.
so I don't know. That seems. I suppose the reason wouldn't take that as anything other than like agreeing with her statement of like I have the right to decide what about me is shared and what isn't, which I agree with. I think the level of in terms of like why are you only perfect out here, because there's a much higher level of scrutiny than most of us have on our lives, right? Like we post a normal picture and probably no one's gonna say anything, right? Because only she posts a normal picture and then it's like a think piece and on 50,000 websites, and like I totally get why her relationship to being vulnerable, especially in imagery, would be different than most people's relationship to that is. And if you can't, and if given that there's going to be a much higher level of scrutiny, and that it's sort of their job to be this thing in public, and that you have the resources to do it. Again, it's, for someone where it's not your job, then yeah, it probably doesn't matter. But given that you've built the whole thing around that being your job, I don't know. I get it.
Well, I get it too. I mean, like, yeah, I get it too. I get not wanting unflattering images of yourself out there. And at the same time, I mean, even what you just said to me sort of
Oh, the thing about
almost
it's your job, like the making an unrealistic beauty standard is your job.
right. It's like, yeah, okay. But then I feel like we're sort of back at the beginning of, yeah, you have to live up to this standard that you set.
I think, I think, no, I don't. This is a good question. Think question, where for anyone who's in the public spotlight and like maintains a certain image, does that mean inherently that you're creating an unrealistic, like, because I think most people, when they consider their regular lives versus their public life, there's some differentiation between what you share. So, and if you have an aesthetically enhanced public image that you maintain, does that inherently mean that you're creating an unrealistic beauty standard?
Well, I'll throw one more wrinkle into the mix because along with, the plastic surgery that they are potentially not being honest about, and the heavily edited and filtered photos, and pushing the diet pills and the flat tummy teas, you also have Kim and family essentially claiming that their beauty, the way that they look, the things that they have, is perfectly accessible and attainable. And in fact, to quote Kim Kardashian, actually, I'll quote Kendall first. So when their show wrapped, when Keeping Up with the Kardashian wrapped, they did a reunion episode with Andy Cohen. And Andy Cohen asked them, do you feel that you promote unrealistic beauty standards? Kendall replied, basically, she said, no. She said, we all really enjoy taking care of ourselves and being healthy. So I think, if anything, the only thing we're really trying to represent is just being the most healthy version of yourself, which a number of people took issue with because is really the only thing you are promoting is health, or are we also promoting flat tummy teas and waist trainers and unrealistic body standards and cosmetic procedures and lip fillers, like only health? So people took issue with that. Kim doubled down on it because shortly thereafter, she gave an interview with Allure where they again asked about, are you promoting unrealistic and unattainable beauty standards? She said, if I'm doing it, it's attainable. I really genuinely care about looking good. I probably care more than 90% of the people on this planet. It's not easy when you're a mom and you're exhausted at the end of the day, or you're in school, and I'm all of the above. I do my beauty treatments usually late at night. After everyone's in bed, I'm doing laser treatments. So a lot of people took issue with this as well because, first of all, what are these laser treatments that you think everybody has access to,
Well,
right?
wait. So at least when you read that quote right there, and she said, "If I'm doing it, it's attainable." To me, attainable doesn't mean like affordable. It means like possible. Do you know what I mean? Like, again, and I might be interpreting this differently than other people or differently than she intended or whatever. But when I hear attainable, I'm like, oh, it's physically possible that it can happen. And yeah, it is. And that's where I would differentiate attainable versus accessible. Like accessible to me is everyone can do it. Attainable means like you can strive and get there. And I think it is accessible. No, attainable. Technically, yes.
Okay.
Like,
That's a fair perspective. That because in my eyes, I am sort of equating attainable and accessible because like if it's not actually possible for me in my being with what I've got, then calling it attainable feels, I guess, a little bit gaslighty, but I see what you're saying. Like, but it's not impossible.
like, yeah, it's like running a marathon. That's an attainable goal. I don't know that I'll ever attain it, but it's attainable. Like, it's not like a thing that is impossible. It's just may or may not be something I choose to engage with or whatever. I understand that it's not accessible to like 95%. I get it. I'm just saying it's not an impossible thing.
Yeah, but if I take your example of running a marathon, I would argue that that is far more attainable
Yeah, it's more attainable, sure.
than Kim Kardashian's nightly laser treatment routine. Because again, what are these laser treatments?
It's funny when she says, I'm assuming, I have no idea, but I'm guessing it's like an infrared treatment. And those are, you can get an infrared thing for like $125, which is not nothing. It's not nothing, but it's not, I don't know, it's not like insane.
Yeah, but then I get back to oh, okay, so that's all it is. You're telling me I'm gonna achieve the Kim Kardashian beauty standard if I get a $125 infrared mask, and as long as I do that each night, that to me feels like what it is they're trying to tell me. They're trying to tell me I do my skincare, I do my workouts, I do my laser mask, and it's only $100. And that is how I look like this. Here's what I'm not doing. I'm not getting lip filler. I'm not getting nose jobs and boob jobs. I'm not getting plastic surgery. I'm not getting lipo. I'm not getting a BBL. I'm not, hiring the most expensive cosmetic dermatologist to do bi-weekly treatments. I'm doing things you can do too. To me, that's what it means if I say attainable. Like the example I gave in the beginning, realistic and attainable, gloss and blush. You can go ahead and make that happen. Can you make Kim Kardashian's beauty standard actually happen? And even your marathon example, I would argue if someone really put their mind to it, just about anybody could make it happen. You could hit the pavement, right, for free. But is it actually attainable? Like, or are we being a bit gaslit?
It's so hard. I see your point. I see what you're saying about how the things that they're doing have a high barrier of entry, and so to say that it's attainable feels like then the extrapolation would be, oh well, then something's wrong with me that I have not attained this thing. That's the thing. I hear that and I can understand why a lot of people would feel that way. I don't like saying create because I just think there are so many I say maybe some of what they've done have perpetuated an unrealistic beauty standard. I think I could be down with that. In part because I think a lot of things perpetuate an unrealistic beauty standard. So wouldn't see that as like an unbearable indictment.
I think where I land is create. I don't think I could say they create the unrealistic beauty standard, right? Because I think there are a lot of unrealistic beauty standards that exist, and I don't think the Kardashians are 100% responsible for any of them. But do I think they have contributed to an unrealistic beauty standard? Absolutely. And do I think their, what I will call dishonesty around all of the things that they've done to achieve the beauty that they have, do I think that that dishonesty perpetuates an unrealistic beauty standard? Yes, because if we're being honest about all of the work that we've had done, then people can decide, okay, if that's something I want, if this is the way I want to look, I know what I'm going to need to do to get there. But if we're telling people it's because of, my nightly skincare routine and not because of my cosmetic procedures, then I do think you bear responsibility for an unrealistic beauty standard. That brings me to question 2, which is, can we / should we have sympathy for specifically Kylie Jenner in this moment, because she's the one who kind of sparked this conversation, but I would say the Kardashians more broadly as it relates to the insecurities they may feel or the sadness or grief or burden they may feel because they're being constantly judged against this beauty standard. And before you answer, we should watch the clip.
Okay.
All right. So, my first question is just, what's your reaction to the clip?
Okay, let me think about this fully and wholeheartedly. I am particularly inclined when someone, like, you know me, I just don't like the idea of people speaking poorly about people in general, and especially about people that they don't know. So saying this, like, you're not allowed to be upset about something, everyone can experience like, she can feel however she feels about whatever. Yeah. So that doesn't resonate with me. I think my ethos is just so eyes on your own paper. Like, work on your own stuff. I don't know. It doesn't resonate with me to be posting mean comments on someone's stuff or not sympathizing when they're upset about mean comments posted on their stuff. Even if there is inherent, like, hypocrisy or complication or stuff like that. People are complicated and say one thing and do other things. And I understand why that's really frustrating. And at the same time, that just never it just doesn't resonate with me. It doesn't.
Yeah. To me, I feel like this sort of feels like a perfect example of two things can be true at once. It can be true that Kylie Jenner has helped perpetuate or even create an unrealistic beauty standard, and it can be true that it is difficult to watch someone get torn down, to watch someone witness people gleefully tear her down. And it's hard to watch that without feeling some sympathy. I think both of those things can be true. And I feel like so much of the reaction that I've seen is like, I don't feel sorry for her and I can't feel sorry for her. And it's like, I do understand that, because I do think she's partially responsible for this beauty standard that she now is, really feeling more of the burden of. I just also feel like, I don't know, have none of us ever, like, done things when we were much younger? I mean, she I think got lip filler when she was 17, 18, right? She got her boob job when she was 19. I just, at that age, did I do nothing beauty wise that I would very much not do now. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so it's like I can understand people feeling like, you know, you made your bed, you lie in it. I also just feel like, but this is kind of sad, you know, like I do feel bad for her. I can only imagine having what feels like the world take a photo of me. And by the way, a photo where I made the decision to wear less makeup. I made the decision to show up more natural. And when I do that, the entire world says, you look old and haggard and terrible. I mean, that's gotta hurt, you know? Like it's gotta hurt.
Yeah. And like coming back to like, oh, you know, you made your bed, you lie in there, like these, you made these beauty standards. I don't like, I took her point of, you know, when she was 12 and 13, people were commenting on her looks and her body. So again, it feels like everyone's like, you did this thing. And like, no, you were entered into a system that was designed to make you feel not enough. And then you reacted to that system and found a way to, for a brief time, conquer it or come out ahead. And then you were like, here, look, I did the thing, and now I am worthy. And then now we don't look like that. Everyone's like, ha, you fell, you didn't keep up with it, now it's your fault. I was like, she didn't create this paradigm.
Yeah.
She, for a brief time, found a certain kind of success within it.
Yeah.
I think that's why it doesn't resonate with me. It's not like none of this was here and then she just showed up and made it happen.
Yeah.
She like found a way to survive in an unjust system for a while.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point. I really do, because the fact of the matter is, even if she did have every procedure, all the procedures, she didn't invent them, right? And she didn't invent the idea of wanting to have fuller lips, a bigger butt, perkier boobs, a slimmer nose, whatever the thing is. She didn't invent any of that. And by the way, neither did any of the rest of the Kardashians, right? They were, regardless of what enhancements or procedures or workouts, whatever that they did to get where they are, they got there because they understood that there was value in getting there, right? Like someone before them even has said, there is value in having a teeny tiny waist and a big fat ass and full lips and hair down to your hips and whatever, what have you. And so they did those things in order to meet that standard. I mean, like, I think perpetuate probably is a better word than create, because that body type didn't fall from the sky. Right. So I agree. I think she did these things in response to a beauty norm she was trying to achieve. And partially because she was probably hearing from the public, you know, you're flat chested and your lips are too thin and whatever it might be. And so, yeah, she did something reactionary, and now she sort of paid the price then, and now it's almost like she's paying the price now. And it does feel kind of like a endless loop.
Yeah.
You know?
And so and maybe, you know, this is a philosophical approach I think about, which is, I prefer to be for something as opposed to against something else. Like, I think there's a difference in the energy there. And I'm like, okay, if someone's like wants to see more celebration of natural beauty or like acceptance of natural bodies, then I think putting energy towards actually accepting natural bodies would so further perpetuate that than like yelling at someone that used like other enhancements. Like, I don't know. It just.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree. I feel like.
I'm like, why? For anyone who like doesn't want to. And again, I think people have their own relationship to their bodies. I like, if you decide that plastic surgery is right for you, like, great, like, go for. I'm not saying a strong opinion about that. I'm just saying, like, even the people who are it just like the negativity doesn't seem particularly productive towards anything better either. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and I completely agree because I feel like as someone who is, size 14, it really was in the last, call it 2 years, where I feel like I saw far more people with my body type wearing crop tops and bodysuits and just like more form-fitting clothes, and that made me feel like, oh, I can do that too. I don't have to wait until I'm a size 6 to wear a crop top, right? And it wasn't because they said, fuck all these skinny folks out here perpetuating this unrealistic body type. It's like, no, this is what I want to wear and I'm going to wear it. And that, like, to your point, I think made beauty feel more inclusive, more so than being like, fuck that skinny bitch.
Yeah, I remember, and again, I feel like all my references are like not super relatable, but a lot of people like Jennifer Aniston, right? I remember she talks about this. She gives this interview where she talks about how in like the late 90s, early 20s, early 2000s, there were all that like they would take a picture of her and stretch it out and be like, Jen's anorexic. Look at how she's perpetuating this unrealistic beauty standard. And she was like, and who know? I have no idea. I obviously don't know this woman's body types. I have no idea. But hearing her talk about what it was like to have people take a single thing and manipulate it and then point to her and be like, you're the reason that the culture is doing this. It's like, no, I don't think so. I just, I have great resistance to that.
Yeah, but I will say in this case, the Kardashians are taking their image and distorting it and then putting it out there.
Sure.
But yes, point
But,
taken.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, it's not like I've never used a filter on a photo.
Right, totally. Oh, yeah, for sure. A part of me wants to attempt to do a Queens Helping Queens and do Kardashians on one side and like the public on the other.
Okay.
But I don't know how it's going to go. So let's just see where
see what happens.
it takes us. I will say, I mean, on the one hand, first of all, let me just preface by saying I don't think it really is Kardashians versus everybody, even though that's what I'm titling this episode. I don't think they're against the public, right? But I do think this conversation has sort of played out this way, this idea that like they've done this thing, they've created this unrealistic beauty standard, and we have suffered from it, and so we do not feel sorry for them in this moment. It's becoming us versus them. That said, that caveat to the side, I do feel like the Kardashians have helped the greater public in some way, because we've said this many times on this show. I do feel like they are a mirror. I really do. And so that's why I think it's hard for me to judge them as harshly. And I do, clearly. I mean, I just spent the last hour judging them. I'm not saying I don't judge them, but I do think it's hard for me to judge them as harshly as I see others willing to do, because I just feel like so much of us is reflected in them. You know what I mean? And sometimes you need that mirror to be held up to start to understand, like, oh, this is something that I don't like. And so, like, what am I going to do about that now? Now that I've recognized it, what am I going to do about it? Am I going to yell at the mirror? Or am I going to fix what it is I don't like about what I'm seeing in that mirror? I think that they're too materialistic. Okay, so am I going to stop buying disposable fashion every other week? Or am I going to keep complaining that Kylie bought a new Birkin, right? Like what am I going to do? Because again, they're a mirror. Am I going to stop using filters every time I post on Instagram? Or am I going to get mad because Chloe refuses to post without using a filter on Instagram? Like, I just feel like in some ways they hold up for us kind of a lot of things about ourselves. Some we like, some we don't. And I think that serves a purpose. But does it? Am I just saying nonsense?
No, I mean, I think that what attracts people and what repels people are often two sides of the same coin. So I think they just have a lot of the things that like people want or are interested in at the same time. They have a lot of qualities that people have like said is bad or like don't, so it becomes this like very potent thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I do think I think it's valuable to have. Yeah, I do think it's valuable to have to be able to engage with those ideas. And yeah, I love how you put, are you going to yell at the mirror? That's what I feel. Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, and then for how I feel we have helped them.
Oh, I mean, they're like super wealthy because they're in the news and people buy their stuff. Like, you're welcome.
Yeah.
What?
Well, yes. They are rich because of all of us. We watch their shows and bought their
And talk about them on
contour
podcasts
kits and put
like,
them in the magazines. And yes, 100%. So we've done that for them. So you are welcome, Kardashians. But I will also say the other way I feel like the world, us, we have helped the Kardashians is essentially in kind of forcing them to evolve, right? Because I think like in a vacuum, they get to just keep doing their thing, being the most beautiful and the most perfect and the most filtered and the most edited, and they just do it forever and ever. Amen. But they don't live in a vacuum. They live in the real world. And I feel like as a society, we've started to focus less on perfection and more on authenticity. And we've given them that feedback, sometimes rather harshly. And as a result, like an evolution has to take place and should take place. And I don't know that it would take place if not for the rest of us having like moved on. Does that make
yeah, I
sense?
hear that. I wonder if, I mean, to me, I hope the authenticity that is currently celebrated in American culture, I hope that that is a lasting thing and not a trend. I'm sort of curious if we've moved on forever or if this is just what's hot right now. I was gonna say when the Kardashian in Keeping Up with the Kardashians at the very beginning, I think it was pretty authentic. Like it wasn't as polished.
It definitely felt less polished in the beginning.
And I say this having only watched. I think I watched 3 minutes of the first episode. Like I don't even know it, and I was like, no, I think this
No,
again. I
yeah.
think it's very structured, but it seemed, yeah. So in a way, it almost feels like they went all the way with the perfectionism that was when that was in vogue, and that now that authenticity is in vogue. It's pushing them in a way back to some of their roots. Actually, I think a lot of times the obstacles that come before us, not all of them, guys. I'm not talking about abuse. I'm not talking about oppression. But a lot of obstacles that show up for us are there to help us grow or show us something about ourselves or are done. So the obstacles and the gifts from American society to the Kardashians, I do think has probably, hopefully, elicited growth and change in a positive way in some ways.
Absolutely.
So I love that one queen is American society.
Yes.
That's it for this week, everyone. Be sure to follow us on TikTok at Two Queens, Two Crowns, and to check out the podcast on YouTube, Two Queens, Two Crowns.
Adrienne and I would also love for you to follow us on our personal socials. I'm on TikTok at IM_KJ Miller and YouTube with the handle IMKJ Miller. And Adrienne's on IG at Adrienne Rose White and TikTok at wrong_or_right. We'll see you next week.